Hello, and welcome to Ditch Witch Diaries. This week, we are continuing on, like I said, with a kind of continuation of this theme that we're doing. And we are going to be looking at Balsam of Peru, which is interesting how it's related because it's related via the US, because the US form of the balm of Gilead was a balsam poplar, and this is Balsam of Peru, and we're going to talk about that weird word balsam. So let's just get started, and we will have a discussion about that and maybe learn something along the way. So let me share my screen. So we're in another part of the country, and Balsam of Peru is called Myroxylon pereirae or Myroxylon balsamum. Okay, so this is what the botanical drawing looks like, and that's what AI thinks it looks like, which I had to kind of fight with it to make it look right. So I said, like, I love how I do with AI. I'm like, do you know what balsam of Peru tree looks like? And then it like describes it, and I'm like, make that. So, and then this is what when you get Balsam of Peru, that's what you get. Okay, so it's not like resinous, it's like liquid, sticky. Yes.
Sorry, didn't you gave us some of this, right?
Yeah,
And you
like
waxed the cork. Yeah, that's
right
right.
here. Yeah, hold on one
Yeah.
second. I will show you
Yeah.
the brand even. It's like this. Yes. It's like
Yeah.
here, in fact, let me stop the share here. Okay, so it's like this. It's Balsam of Peru, and it's like literally it is sticky. It's like that
Mm.
same black.
It
It
looks like
smells
molasses.
so good though. It smells
Mm.
so effing good. Like I can't even describe. It's so good. I
Nice.
love the smell of Balsam of Peru. It is
Mm.
delightful. Okay. So, and you'll see why it's so perfect that I do. It's so incredible. Like, I'm like, no wonder when I was researching this, I'm like, of course I like that.
Mm.
Okay, let me share my screen again. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so the parts used are the oleoresinous liquid, and this liquid is extracted from every part. It can be extracted from every part. It's amazing. Okay. Other names are balsamo, black balsam, balm peruvian, balm de San Salvador, China oil, Honduras balsam, Indian balsam, Santos mahogany, Suriname balsam, quina, quina, and xylo. And I think quina more references the wood
Mm.
because I saw that actually in like hardwood, they were talking about quina, and
Mm.
that is Balsam of Peru. So the plant information. So the Balsam of Peru is used to flavor many foods: cakes, pastries, baked goods, soft drinks, chocolate, ice cream, chewing gum, wines, liquors, and even sometimes tobacco. It's also a flavoring. It's also it all. Well, there you go. We know it's a flavoring. It's also like for things that it's a perfumery as well. So the tree is native to El Salvador. Interestingly enough, it's not Peruvian at all.
Mm. Interesting.
Balsam of Peru is named that way because okay, else for there's two things that I come up with, and I don't know like which one or both. Two things can be true at once. So I heard the first one was that it was that Balsam of Peru, that El Salvador was a part of the colony of Peru. And then also that it was shipped out of Peru. Like that was the shipping port that it was shipped out of, in Balsam of
Oh.
Peru. So
Hmm.
I know. Two, it could be one, it could be both, it could be the other. So this tree though, and This is only one tree. There's no confusion here. This tree, it grows to almost 150 feet. It has yellow bark, and the leaves, even the leaves, have dots of oil on the underside. And like I said, it's a prized hardwood as well. If the smell is like
Mm,
vanilla and cinnamon, it is
nice.
so beautiful. It's
Hmm.
just, it's so good.
I haven't opened it up yet because I don't want to like break the wax and then dump it and it like spill everywhere. So I haven't opened it yet, but I
It
bet
is
it smells so
delicious smelling.
good.
It's so good. So, and Myroxylon means fragrant wood in Greek. That's where you get the name from. So, we're going to talk about this, about exactly an interesting story I came across. But basically, the strips of the bark can be boiled to skim the resin. Like, and then it's boiled and it's not water soluble. So, you have to skim the resin
Mm.
then. Or an incision is made in the tree and the sap is collected with fabric, and then the fabric is boiled. And because, like
Mm.
I said, because the resin is soluble in alcohol, and not water, it can be skimmed off the top of the water. So why is it balsam of Peru or balsam poplar even, like we talked about before? Okay, balsam is not like a type of plant. Okay, there are balsam firs, there's balsam poplars, there's balsam of Peru. Balsam describes the fact that they have sticky resin. Balsam is the sticky resin that they have.
Mm.
Like this is balsam of Peru. Like
Hmm.
this is balsam of Peru. Like that's what balsam is. So same with balm of Gilead is often called balsam of Gilead because it's the sticky resin. So
Mm.
so let's go on to the lore, the stories, and the cultural importance. Okay, so El Salvador. Okay, so this was such a beautiful story of a modern, like even modern collection of balsam of Peru. And that's like a horrible picture because it's like a full on, like gnarly. But this is what it is. So there's this like probably white folks that were observing that went hiking into the El Salvador forest and like we're watching the collection of this balsam of Peru. And they were watching these people climb these huge trees with ropes. And first of all, though, they would take some like balsam of Peru, like sticks, and they would light the sticks on fire. And then the guy would put it in his backpack, like on his back, and he would like scale the, like, I don't know who is calling me. Well, she's gonna have to wait. They would scale the tree, and they would peel back a piece of the bark. And then they would do a ritual where they smoked that piece, and then they would actually torch the inside of the tree, and they would start singing to the tree to encourage the flow of resin.
Mm.
And then when they were finished with that, they would wrap the tree in rags, and then they came down, and then they told the people that they would come back in 2 to 3 weeks to collect the rags. But I thought it was like very ritualistic how they were talking
Mm.
about it and singing to the tree. I just love that. So
Yeah, that's nice.
and it's you in El Salvador, it's used in cleaning and purification rituals. It's said to clear negative energy. And it's another reason that it's used is that sometimes these balsam of Peru plants are planted as shade trees for coffee production. And there's also this whole thing about sacred logging. Okay, so there's monuments dedicated to these sacred loggers in Tecoluca, El Salvador, and San Andres in Mexico. And apparently, like there's some like logging route that like these trees were considered sacred, and the loggers were like supposedly there was some sacred ritual that went on with the logging of these felled trees.
Hmm.
So here's another interesting thing. So in these balsam forests, there's a group of people called the Itza people. And in around between 6,000 and 7,000 BCE, it's reported that they were ritually sacrificing the firstborn children. Kind of remind me almost of that acai story about,
Mm.
you know, I remember how the acai, like, they were, the story behind acai berry was that the leader had deemed that they had to sacrifice the firstborn children.
Mm.
So it was all taking place amongst these balsam trees. And the women, they had ways of keeping the women like in the group because the women would flee and they were forming other communities outside of the group because they
Mm.
didn't want their firstborn children sacrificed. So, the Aztec Empire as well used balm, balsam of Peru, and they actually first cultivated balsam trees like in royal gardens, and they would use them for their healing properties. The Incan Empire also used balsam of Peru. They used it in mummification, which is interesting. And it's listed in this the Incan shamanic glossary online lists balsam of Peru in their many herbs that they use when using their shamanic practices. In the Mayan Empire, they used it as a ceremonial incense. So there you go. So then we get to Spain because, of course, what was happening, why it's balsam of Peru, is that it was being shipped the out of Peru. It was being taken from El Salvador and shipped out of Peru by the Spanish. So the conquistadors were using it, and their Catholic clergy was using balsam of Peru like sacramentally even. It was that it's I swear it smells so good. I can't even imagine coming across this and being like, we got to use this some way. I mean, it's amazing. Okay. So in 1560, it was being used so much that in 1562, a decree was passed by the Catholic Pope Pius the Fifth, I think, that forbade the destruction of these trees. And it was on like they made lists. So of things, there was these master list of like what are they called? Like resources in South America, right? And Middle America and Mexico. And that the Spanish wanted to always be on their list of things that were taken back, and balsam of Peru was featured heavily on this list. So in France, it gets brought back to France, right? And what happens in France? They start using it, of course, for what? For perfume making, okay? So in France, it's found in Hermes perfume, the Elixir de Merveille, and Guerlain, who is the only perfume I wear. It's in Vol de Nuit and Shalimar, the Shalimar is the only perfume I ever wear, and Balsam of Peru is found in Shalimar, and also Chamade. So it's found in those perfumes. It's also in the US, it was important. Why? Because it was in the original Coca-Cola. So as part of like cola mixtures is this flavoring of balsam of Peru. It's also found in the Estee Lauder perfume Youth Dew as well, which I should smell because I'm like, I want to smell. I don't know anything about those other perfumes, but I can tell you I love Shalimar, and if it's anything like that, then we're in. So the correspondences, and I tell you, I could not, it's I could find very little about the correspondences, but the element that I found was Earth. The planet is the sun and Venus. And then the astrological sign. So I found it for Cancer and Scorpio. And a lot of the reasoning behind it was that this is a great perfume for people who are Cancer or Scorpio. Like this should be
Mm.
part of perfumes that are made for them. The chakra that I saw it associated with was almost always the root chakra. So that would go with earth as well. So almost always it was, but also throat. I saw, what else did I see? I saw some other ones, but almost always it was root. And the ritual that is associated with it are rites of passage. And I could find no goddesses. I literally looked up, I looked up El Salvador, like goddesses, like, and then tried to like tease it back to this plant tree, and no can do. That's just not there. So this is just a representation of what AI thinks a goddess from El Salvador might look like, and it's hopelessly derivative, I think. Anyway, so magical properties, and there's not very many of those either, which is unfortunate. But one of them is protection, manifestation, of course, healing, but cleansing and consecration. It's supposed to clear away negative energies, happiness, and it's supposed to be an aphrodisiac as well, magically. Also, dream work. So maybe I should start smelling this before I go to bed. Maybe that would clear away my night terrors.
Yeah.
So that's it for magical uses. So I think we can, once you smell it, you can kind of decide what magical uses you might want to use it for, because it's just beautiful. So there's a lot of medical uses, though, many more medical uses, interestingly enough. And we are not doctors. This is only for informational use and educational purposes, and for, what's the word, for your enjoyment. Okay. So don't treat any disorders with this, please, unless you talk to a naturopath. Okay. The medicinal properties are that it's analgesic, anti-catarrhal, antifungal, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, antiseptic, an expectorant, a mild laxative, a parasiticide, a stimulant, and a stomachic. So externally, Greaves tells us you can melt it with equal weight of tallow for ointment. But as we know, you can make an ointment also by melting it in with oil and then mixing that oil with beeswax, and then you create your own ointment, and no tallow will be needed. No animals will be harmed in the making of this ointment. So, and then once you do make this ointment, you can use it for scabies, my favorite little bug, my favorite mite that burrows under your skin and lays eggs. Lice, another one of my favorites. Our household battle lice. Oh my gosh, my poor son. Oh, our family had lice for so many years in a row. Like every year we would get, I know, wretched. Skin diseases like eczema, ringworm, sore nipples, and it's supposed to lather up, so you can use it in soap. It's good for hemorrhoids, and it's also in like hemorrhoid treatments. Like there's like it's like itching. It's good for itching. It's in calamine lotion. Like it's in like some like hemorrhoid treatments have this in it. Have this balsam of Peru in it. Ulcers and wounds, and also it can be used as a dental cement. So medicinal properties continued. It can be used for respiratory issues. It's supposed to lessen mucus, and it's good for chronic bronchitis, asthma. It's a cough remedy. And then in digestive issues, because we saw it was a stomachic, and so It says it's a mild laxative, but it's also supposed to be used in diarrhea, especially when it's caused by dysentery. So there you go.
Mm.
Genital things, it's supposed to be helpful with gonorrhea, but I'm telling you, you got gonorrhea, you got to go see a doctor.
Go to
Don't
the
start
doctor.
using balsam of Peru, for God's sakes. You're going to make yourself like, well, you can't have children. If that's something you
Oh,
want.
man. Yeah.
Not like that, though, right?
What?
Not like that.
What do you mean?
Gonorrhea. You want that cured, whether or not you want to be able to have
Exactly,
children.
exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want to be passing around gonorrhea to people.
Yeah. Ugh.
So, also for mental health, it's supposed to quell anxiety. And I can tell you, just smelling this quells my anxiety right away. I feel very quelled.
Nice.
Delicious.
Which makes sense since it's like used with dream work and stuff, you know? Like
Exactly.
calming and
It's an insect repellent, and people powder it for an underarm deodorant, which makes sense. It smells so good. But okay, out of all these things, I told you about all these like things for external properties, but it is a common allergen. Even though it's in like hemorrhoid creams and calamine lotions and all sorts of stuff, you could be allergic to it, and if you are allergic to it, it would cause contact dermatitis is what would happen. So, there you go. So I think that's it. And I really did a lot of research online because most of my books did not have anything about it. And even online, it was very difficult. I had to go down a rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole. I came upon books, different interesting books, and just take a picture because there's a lot of great stuff here. A lot of great information if you're interested in Balsam of Peru. So there we go. So I hope you enjoyed it was kind of a continuation from Balm of Gilead or Balsam of Gilead to Balsam of Peru. We went from one continent to the other continent, and we realized that balsam is not like, it's not like balsam is not a plant. Like balsam is like it describes a quality of a plant, like that it seeps this resinous, usually really good smelling sap that's an oleo resin. So I hope we learned a lot, and I hope I got you excited about this Balsam of Peru. Like literally buy some just to sniff. It'll make you feel so much better.
I wonder if it tastes anything like it smells.
Well, it was in Coca-Cola. I don't know. I haven't dared
Yeah.
taste it. I mean, I probably could take a little like taste of it and see. Let's see if I get just like a little.
Not as good as it smells.
No, but not like. Oh, it says for external use only. Yeah,
We're adventurous.
I know.
Drink some water.
I know, huh?
That's probably just their medical disclaimer.
Yeah, probably. Especially if it was in Coca-Cola.
I know, it's supposed to be in Coca-Cola.
It was flavoring twice in the slide.
That's true. Extra flavor.
Exactly. It's been, I know. Whatever. It says it's just the only ingredient is Peruvian balsam resin. So
yeah, it's fine. You can, don't worry. Yeah.
it is what it is. I hope I don't get sick. Mild laxative. Maybe I'll be pooping.
Maybe.
So you want to hear something funny before we end this funny thing?
Yeah.
Is the brand Puma has been like this huge joke. So like okay, so I have a friend that has like these leggings, and they say Puma across the side, and I'm like, oh, Puma pants. And then I have shoes that are Puma. I'm like, oh my gosh, Puma shoes. And I'm like, that has to be some really bad diarrhea. If you have
It's
Puma
in your shoe.
Exactly.
Oh my
Anyway,
gosh.
we'll see.
Hmm.
So I hope you all got something interesting from that, and that is that. And we will see you at the next Ditch Witch Diaries.